On this episode of the Hanford Insider, Christy Camara stops by to tell us about the big plans to celebrate her late son Wyland's birthday party at this week's Thursday night marketplace. Rob will review the upcoming calendar of events. Then later, I'll be back with your sports report. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, August 25th.
Hey there, and welcome to the Hanford Insider. This is the place where we talk about the people, events, and stories that make Hanford such a special community. Whether you've lived here forever or you're just getting to know the area, we're here to share what makes our town feel like home. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. Let's jump in. The Hanford City Council met last Tuesday, and one of the big topics on the discussion was about the East Lacey Boulevard improvements coming up over the next few years. Many in the audience were under the impression that the plans were presented at the last meeting were final and that they weren't very happy about it. As it turns out, the project is actually 0% design at this point, but when it comes time for community input, there will be plenty of notice. Residents were anxious to voice their criticism as the cartoonish plans that were presented a few weeks ago seemed to limit access to local businesses. Maybe it's just me, but I'm really looking forward to that side of town getting some love. It's not the greatest entrance into our town in its current state, that's for sure. The council also reviewed the graffiti abatement process. The property owners are not criminals, but the city has to find a way to work with them to clean up their property. So the new policy will not fine property owners, but will give them notices to get it cleaned up within a certain time frame and offer assistance if needed. If the owner fails to remove the graffiti or request assistance from the city would initiate the formal abatement process and recover costs through a lien on the property. If you remember last week's episode, I told you about the accident that the Hanford police motorcycle officer was involved in. Officer Daniel Todd is still hospitalized and has undergone several surgeries, with more coming up in the future. He's awake and he's talking, and he's maintaining his sense of humor. His medical needs and salary are being taken care of by the city, but there is a fundraising campaign to help the family with other unexpected costs. You can donate to the fund at porac.org. That's PORAC.org. For a direct link, check my show notes. Our thoughts and prayers will continue to go out to Officer Todd and his family. Let's take a look at this week's community calendar. On Wednesday, August 27th, Mayor Travis Payton and Interim City Manager Chris Tavares will be holding their first Council Corner at the Ola Cafecito from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. This monthly chat is your chance to discuss your ideas and concerns with your elected officials and city staff. At the Thursday Night Marketplace this week, it's the celebration of Wyland Gomes. You'll hear more about it coming up later in this episode. Music will be provided by the Latin R&B band Exodus. The King's Players production of The Odd Couple is now playing at the Temple Theater on weekends through September 7th. Visit kingsplayers.org for information and tickets. The Kids Fishing Derby will be held at Hidden Valley Park on Saturday, September 6th. Check out the Hanford Department of Parks and Community Services social media for more information and registration. It was announced this week that Hanford's inaugural Night Out will be held on September 7th at 4 p.m. in the Civic Park. There will be lots of fun provided by the Hanford Fire Department, Hanford Police Department, and the Public Works Department. There will be food vendors, boutique vendors, information booths, music, and a lot more. This family-friendly event will connect the community to public safety personnel in a fun and welcoming environment. Looking a little farther ahead, the Renaissance Fair will be held in the Civic Park on October 4th and 5th, and the tribute to the China Alley Moon Festival will be held on October 4th at the Carnegie Museum of Kings County. Well, when September rolls around, it's time for the Women with Visions Unlimited all-white party at the King's Art Center, and it's coming up on September 6th. And I have with us here Carolyn Hudgens and Paula Massey. And Carolyn, let's start with you. We have got this event coming up, and before we actually talk about the event, can you tell us a little bit about Women with Visions Unlimited and how they've been supporting the community?
Well, Women with Visions Unlimited, we've been around since 2007. We've been supporting the community as far as summer school. We've had summer school for about 10 years. We've also had youth conferences. We've had training as far as customer service, resume writing, interviewing skills, things of that nature. So we've been serving the community very well as far as helping the students in the community. We've also been a part of the BSU at Hanford West, helping the students there. So we've done quite a bit of events in Hanford.
Yeah. So this event coming up on September 6th is a big part of your activities and helping to support these all these activities that you do. Let's talk about the all-white party and the name and maybe some of the things that are going to be happening.
Well, the all-white party, it's a catchy phrase, all-white party. So the attire is all white. This year, our theme is Boots on the Ground, which is very popular right now. It's a dance, well, most of you know. But that's our theme for this year. Just plan on having a great time. We have food. When you purchase your ticket, your food comes along with it as well. We're going to be having a lot of dancing. We're going to just be having a lot of fun. We have somebody that supports the record business as far as vinyl. Second time around, vinyl will be there, and he'll be displaying some of his vinyl and some of the different eras of music. So that's an experience. And also they get a chance to look in the art center and see the various artwork that's in the art center.
Yeah, they've got some great displays. So tell us about the tickets. How can we get tickets, and what do we need to know about that?
Well, you can get the tickets. We have a QR code on our flyers. You can use the QR code for Cash App, or you can also go through Eventbrite. If you pay at the door, if you wait till the last minute, though, however, it's going to be $10 more if you want to pay at the door, but we'll take it. That's fine. But you can also, like I said, you can get it through Eventbrite or the Cash App. The doors open at 6:30. Party starts at 7. So we're looking to have a great time.
That's great. And for more information about the event, I'm going to put the flyer on my show notes so that people can download the flyer and learn more about the event and purchase tickets. I'd like to thank you for joining us, and I hope your event is just amazing.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's the most comprehensive community calendar available. Well, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Christy Camara to the Hanford Insider podcast. How are you doing, Christy?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Christy, we have a very special event coming up on Thursday at the Thursday Night Marketplace with Wyland's birthday. But before we get to the actual celebration, let's learn a little bit more about you and your upbringing in Hanford and how you've been involved in the community.
I was born and raised in Hanford. I grew up on a dairy farm and graduated from Hanford High School and have been a local business owner for several years.
So I understand you grew up on a dairy. I was listening to some other podcasts. You grew up on a dairy.
Yes, I grew up on a dairy and ended up moving to Tillamook, Oregon in middle school, where we eventually sold the dairy and came back to California in 1993.
So you've had some other ventures besides for agriculture. What other things have you been involved with?
I was a yoga instructor and owned Hanford Yoga and Pilates for a short time. I worked as a manicurist in several local salons in Hanford.
So if you're familiar with Christy's story, we know that on March 2nd, 2020, changed lives forever. And Christy, I know it's probably a little bit difficult, but can you share with us a little bit about how everything transpired and how you've decided to make a difference with some of the foundations that you've been involved with.
Well, I pulled up to pick up my son about 7:35 on Monday morning, March 2nd, 2020. I was going to pick him up and take him to school. And when I turned the corner and driving down Courtner, the road was blocked off. I motioned to the officer that I was there to pick up my son. He told me to pull over and wait. And in those few minutes when I was waiting, I saw firemen that I knew and police officers that I knew, and nobody would answer my question of what was going on. So I patiently waited until an officer picked me up and drove me down to the police department to question me. Before they began questioning, they put me in a room. Before I got there, I'd called my parents and told them I was there to pick Wyland up. And then the cops were there and they took me down to the police department. So my parents met me down at the police department and eventually joined me in the room waiting. Eventually, 2 police officers came in and wanted to question me alone. So I began answering their questions. They asked questions about my relationship with my ex-husband. They asked what happened the day before. And then they asked to see my cell phone. And at that point, I questioned if I was in some sort of trouble. Why did I need to give them my cell phone? I told them I was happy to share whatever they needed. If they needed text message conversations with my ex-husband, I was happy to share that, but inquired why they needed my phone. And then they finally told me that my ex-husband, there was an incident and Wyland was shot and he didn't make it. And then they followed up with that his father had taken his own life. All of this took place probably about 2 hours after Wyland was already pronounced dead. So my parents and I drove to the hospital, and we were at the doors of the emergency room, and I just didn't want to go in. I just thought, if I don't go in, it's not true. But unfortunately, I went in, and I saw my baby. His head was bandaged, and he was still in his pajamas. And I held him, and at one point I thought I felt him moving. I thought I had brought him back to life. But of course I didn't. The rest of the day is a blur. To be honest, most of the rest of the year is a blur. But since then, I've made it my goal to keep Wyland's memory alive. I've made it my goal to work with Main Street Hanford to celebrate Wyland's birthday and let the children of our community remember Wyland and enjoy the evening. I've also made it a priority to advocate to save children's lives, even if that just means we've saved one child's life. I have to continue advocating. I've since joined a nonprofit organization called Pierce's Pledge. Pierce was tragically murdered by his father, just like Wyland. His mother, Leslie, and I have become great friends, and she has since started Pierce's Pledge. This organization that we work for encourages lawyers to have conversations with their clients about safe gun storage. We have started the first and only gun storage map in the United States. So if anyone is looking for off-site gun storage for any reason, you can go to the map and find a local facility to store your gun. The reasons of storing a gun could be anywhere from you're having your home remodeled and you don't want your firearm in the home, to your grandkids are visiting, to there's a possible domestic violence situation and the convenience of having a gun on site could prove to be dangerous and tragic.
And that's not all you've done. You've actually authored a book sharing your experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
I did. In 2022, I decided I would start writing a book. Basically, it started as memories of Wyland that I was afraid I was going to begin to forget. And through my writing, I began writing not only about his memories, but each chapter is themed as an individual memory, beginning with my life, then including the same memory or theme with Wyland, and finally how my life has been affected after Wyland's death.
There's an Assembly Bill, 1363, and we know it as Wyland's Law. It's gotten a lot of coverage in local media, and it's partially passed, but it's not quite there yet. Can you give us a little bit of background about that and what we can do to kind of help get that passed?
Sure. Shortly after Wyland died, I knew there was going to be a Wyland's Law. I just wasn't sure what it looked like. And unfortunately, it took us several years to determine what cracks were in the system that we needed to find in order to fix, to prevent children like Wyland from being killed. After almost 5 years of figuring out the details of what Wyland's Law would be, we finally announced Wyland's Law on April 15th of 2025 on the City Hall steps of San Francisco. Since that day, Wyland's Law has passed unanimously in the Assembly and as well in the Senate. Unfortunately, there are a few more hurdles for Wyland's Law to pass before we can see it as a real law.
So you've said it passed 79-0, and it's still kind of hung up. And I understand that Catherine Stephanie, who is the Assembly member, sponsored the bill, and she would be a great resource for us to be able to contact and encourage movement on this, because it definitely, obviously, is something that needs to get done. And so I would encourage all of my listeners to please reach out to Catherine Stephanie and see what we can do about getting this passed.
Thank you.
We have a special reason for being here today, and why this celebration coming up on Thursday Night Marketplace is so important.
During the preparation for Wyland's celebration of life, many people wanted to send flowers, and I kindly asked everyone to start donating to a bank account in Wyland's name. And with that money, we wanted to create an event for children to be able to attend. The first year was in 2020, and of course it was during COVID and several wildfires that summer. So we had to postpone his first community birthday event, which was supposed to take place on or around his birthday on August 26th. We were going to show the movie Toy Story in the Civic Park. But because of the wildfires and the conditions of the smoke, we had to postpone the event, I believe, twice. And we finally were able to put on the free community event in October of 2020. Then in 2021, I was approached by Michelle at the Main Street Hanford, and she thought that we should create a whole Thursday night market in Wyland's honor for his birthday. So in 2021, We put on the first Wyland's Birthday Thursday night market, and it was a success. A lot of the children's rides were funded and donated by members of the community, as well as the bank account that was set up in lieu of flowers for his celebration of life. We had such a great turnout the first year. It was unanimously voted to continue making it Wyland's birthday each year, and Hanford Main Street was going to pick up the cost for future events.
That's wonderful. It's such a great service to the community and a great way to remember your son. What kinds of activities will be available for the kids this year?
Well, all the rides are always free. That includes carousel ride, train ride, fire truck. Sometimes we have a treat available if it's in our budget, but it's definitely a night where families can come out and let their children enjoy at least one Thursday night market and be able to save them the stress of a financial burden of treating their kids to a fun evening.
So to recap, there's lots of ways that we can help you in this mission to protect children. And the first one that I would recommend is contacting Assemblymember Catherine Stephanie to make sure that this legislation gets passed so that we can take care of this problem of what happened with the notifications of gun registries and those types of things. So please contact her. The other sites that you can check out is Christy's website, wylandsmom.com, and she also works with piercespledge.org. So those are great websites, and I'll make sure to put those in the show links. And then finally, her book, Can I Still Be Funny After My Son's Murder, is available on Amazon.com. And Christy, thank you so much for joining us, and our heart is with you, and we hope that this event on Thursday night really brings the community together in memory of your son.
Thank you so much for having me and taking the time to learn more about Wyland, and I hope to see everyone at the event next Thursday.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
Lots of sports in action this week, so let's get right into it. We'll start with football at Neighbor Bowl as Hanford High played host to Kennedy in an overtime thriller. It was the Thunderbirds who struck first with a touchdown on their 7-minute opening drive. The Bullpups would go 3 and out, but Micaiah Rubicalva recovered a fumble on the ensuing Kennedy possession that would lead to a Jaron Mao to Rajon Newton touchdown pass to knot the game at 7. Kennedy answered with a rushing touchdown and a 56-yard pick six to send the Bullpups into the half trailing 21-7. Hanford High got the ball to start the third quarter and would score quickly on a Ryan Smith 28-yard rushing touchdown, but missed the extra point to trail 21-13. After the Bullpup defense forced a 3 and out, Rajon Newton found the end zone yet again, this time a 20-yard rushing touchdown to bring Hanford High in reach of tying the game, but the 2-point conversion would fail, leaving the score 21-19 in favor of Kennedy heading into the final quarter. And it was in the fourth quarter where the action really ramped up. Sage Ragosa snagged an interception for the Bullpups, and Hanford High looked like they had taken the lead on a touchdown pass that was called back for illegal man downfield. Hanford High would then lose a fumble on the Kennedy 2-yard line, still trailing 21-19. The Bullpups defense rose to the occasion yet again, forcing an intentional grounding safety to tie the game at 21, and it would remain tied until the end of regulation. Hanford High would take their first lead of the game in overtime when Tavion Patterson hauled in a 15-yard touchdown pass from Jaron Mao to go ahead 28-21, but Kennedy would deal the final blow, answering with a touchdown and then converting the 2-point conversion to spoil the Bullpups' home opener, taking down Hanford High 29-28. Another tough matchup awaits the Bullpups this week on a short week as Sanger comes to town on Thursday for a 7 p.m. showdown. Sierra Pacific football got their season started on the road at Woodlake, and after one quarter, it was a 7-7 tie, but a 21-point Tigers second quarter gave Woodlake a 28-13 lead at the half. The Tigers would tack on a few more in the second half to take down Sierra Pacific 41-13. The Golden Bears get their first opportunity at home this week as they'll host Golden Valley on Friday at 7. And Hanford West football fell on the road in their season opener at Fowler by a final score of 19-0. Next up for the Huskies, a road matchup with Corcoran, 7:15 kickoff for that game. Out to the pool now with girls water polo, where Sierra Pacific got their year off to a 2-0 start, taking down Menachie on the road 25-2 before coming home and beating Sierra from Toll House 11-5. The early season offensive charge for the Golden Bears has been led by Mia De La Torre, Avery Sylvester, and Kelsey Hansen, while Zoe De La Torre has been stellar in goal. Sierra Pacific is only in action once this week on Thursday at Hoover. Hanford High girls water polo fell in their 2 tournament games last week, a 12-3 loss to Golden West and a nail-biting 12-11 loss to Mission Oak. A Thursday night crosstown showdown with Hanford West awaits the Bullpups this week. As for the Hanford West girls water polo, we don't have scores reported from their Exeter tournament action. They'll take on Kingsburg at home this week on Tuesday before that rivalry matchup with Hanford High on Thursday. On the boys water polo side, a successful first week of action for Sierra Pacific, picking up a 16-6 win on Tuesday at Menachie. Then over the weekend, a pair of forfeit wins over Mount Whitney and El Diamante, and a 15-4 victory over Frontier in tournament action. The lone loss of the tournament, a 13-8 defeat at the hands of Bakersfield. The Golden Bears will be back in action this Thursday at Hoover. The Hanford West boys water polo team fell in their season opener to Mission Oak. They'll take on Kingsburg at home on Tuesday before hosting Hanford High on Thursday. That Thursday matchup will be Hanford High boys' first action in the pool this season. Now into the gym for some girls volleyball, where Hanford West picked up a 3-1 victory over Dinuba to improve to 2-1 overall on the year. Road games with Tulare Union on Monday and Hanford High on Thursday await the Huskies this week. Sierra Pacific girls volleyball went 1-1 on the week, falling in 5 sets to Golden West, then picking up their first win of the year, taking down Kalinga on the road in straight sets on Thursday. One match on the schedule for the Golden Bears this week, Monday versus Tulare Western. And the Hanford High girls volleyball team will see their first non-tournament action this week as they host Golden West on Tuesday before hosting that crosstown tilt with Hanford West on Thursday. As always, we like to cover as many sports as we can, but we can only do so much without you. Any sport, any team, any level. If you have a score report, a story idea, or a team update, please let us know at hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.